Welcome to Audible Sportscast, your home for all things sports. Welcome back to another episode, everyone. We got Brett, Jeff, and Cody here today. And before we begin our little mock draft we have for you today, just congratulations to both the men and women's teams of the LSU Tigers and UConn Huskies for winning the college basketball tournaments. I don't know if you all watched all those games, but they're pretty exciting games. Some of the most watched college basketball in a very long time, too.
Yeah, I mean, it was getting a lot of media coverage, which is it's good for it. So,
Oh, yeah.
and actually, women's to me got more this year than it normally does.
Oh, yeah. What was it? The championship game was like 9 million viewers, which is like the most.
It's because everybody was tuned in to
ever.
watch the girl from Iowa.
Yep. Just congratulations to both, UConn and LSU for winning there. And everyone's brackets were busted, but even though the brackets were busted with our little bracket challenge, congratulations to both Daniel Marlowe and Alexis Green. You guys tied. I don't know, with at least the system, I think it took a tiebreaker into effect to be 1 and 2 because it doesn't say they both won. It's kind of weird. I don't get why it did that, but you're both winners in my book. But let's get right into it. We have today a little bit of a start of our official 2023 NFL mock draft. First time doing it, so this is going to be pretty exciting. So we're instead of having it all pre-planned, like, oh, this is how we're doing it, we're just going to go through the picks and kind of collectively agree on who should go, who maybe should trade for the pick, who should maybe, just, have a little fun time with it, a little pizzazz, different than what you might see elsewhere, or at least I assume so. So let's dive right in. First overall pick after trading with the Chicago Bears for it is the Carolina Panthers. I'm assuming we can all agree they should definitely go quarterback here. Which quarterback do you guys think should be the guy between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud? I'm assuming would be the two.
I'm going to say Bryce Young, only because I think a lot of the stuff is just smoke screens to try to get people off of him, I think. But I actually think CJ Stroud's going to be better, but I think Bryce Young is going to be the pick.
I think they're both good quarterback prospects, but they will go for Stroud, and I agree Stroud will probably be better. I mean, he has, on paper and his height and everything, I know that's what everyone focuses on, but yeah, he's just a better build, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, even though people say like, oh, Baker, Drew Brees, like no one, those guys weren't like that small. Like they had like a little bit of bulk to them. So Bryce Young. The issue with Bryce Young is just
he's just small all around.
Yeah, he's small all around, and when you are playing one of the most physical games at one of the most one of the positions that you need to be,
Well, I don't think
on
I
top
think
of
in
everything.
either way, just because of his accolades in college, he's gonna go 1 or 2. If he didn't, my mind would be blown away.
Well,
I mean, unless one of
yeah, there's no question he's gonna fall over. He's gonna go second or first.
I mean, I think there's too much hype on Anthony Richardson, but
There's way too much.
I think, but I wouldn't be. To me, it would be crazy for you to pick Richardson or Will Levis up that close.
Yeah, but I agree that it'd be crazy, but at the same time, I probably wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be like, oh my god, what it okay, that.
As funny as this sounds, if Carolina did it didn't pick one of those two, I wouldn't be bothered. If Houston did it, I'd be a little bummed because I'm ready for them not to suck. So, like, Carolina's had some times, but Houston, you got to go all the way back to like Matt Schaub, pretty much. I mean, Watson took him to playoffs one year, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't want to. I guess I just don't want to see him suck. I don't know.
Good old Bill. Good old Bill did it, man. They had something going, and then
It's gonna be interesting.
I mean, luckily enough, no matter what quarterback they pick, they're gonna have a pretty good support group there. I mean, between Frank Reich, quarterback coach Josh McCown, and Andy Dalton there to be kind of a starter if they're not ready, or a guy to help with the development. So I think they'll be in a good spot. I mean, yeah, they went out and got like Adam Thielen too to play wide receiver, Miles Sanders, and on top of they still have an early second rounder and a couple other picks. They can still add more to it. So I think no matter who the Panthers go with, I think they're in a pretty good spot to succeed. Now, will they succeed? That's a whole different question to ask.
I mean, in that division, that gives them a better opportunity.
That's true.
I can confidently say that Stroud is a lock for them.
Yeah, I mean, just especially after their the pro day.
Yeah,
with how
Reich's hard eyes for him.
But I mean, at the same time too, it's like we've heard such good things about Bryce Young. He's very smart. He has really good. Like they say, he's the most pro ready, but at the same time, you have to at least question the physical build.
I'm not sure how you can just. I hate when they say that term pro ready, because it shouldn't be just mental. That's what they're looking at. He doesn't have the physical attributes to be pro ready technically. Otherwise, they wouldn't be bashing him.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, I think that's. I mean, it's pretty easy to these first two picks. Like here, mine obviously number 2 is going to be C.J. Stroud. You didn't pick, did you?
I didn't pick it. I'm kind of the tiebreaker here for who's going to get picked. But I just because of the pro day, I kind of have to go with C.J. Stroud too. So with the first overall pick, the Carolina Panthers in our mock draft shall select C.J. Stroud, quarterback out of Ohio State University. But yeah, as you were just saying,
yeah, basically,
yeah.
I was gonna say for me, it's at C.J. Stroud. Obviously, for you guys, we know what it's gonna be now, but but I'm also not gonna be shocked if some of these other quarterbacks are actually better long term. But I just don't think they should be picked that early.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of other. I mean, we won't see probably Hendon Hooker go in the first round. Maybe not even the second round, but he could be a guy you let sit, especially recover from the injury. Like he could maybe be something one day.
I've been seeing some speculation he might actually be gone by the first.
Yeah, there was a crazy ESPN Mike Tannenbaum, I believe, who it was, had a mock draft of him going 5th overall to the Seahawks.
Yeah,
but and I think almost all of the media kind of give him some flack for that. But I mean, hey, if the Seahawks do have 2 first rounders, so if they feel like that's a dude who can just sit behind Geno a year or two, then if you think he might be gone by the later, then push it. But
the one I
we'll
saw,
see.
I can't completely recall, but I thought it was like the Bucks.
That could be, I could see them. I guess it kind of depends too. Like, do you think he'll be available the next time you have a first? Are you willing to maybe trade up late in the second, or are you willing to trade later in the? I mean, kind of like Lamar. Lamar Jackson went to the very last pick of the first, mostly because the Ravens kind of didn't want, like, you wanted your 5th-year option, which now seeing kind of made his contract situation harder for them, I guess. I mean, it gave them longer time to negotiate, but they came in swooped, so he and probably beat some teams that were going to take him early in the second round was pretty much where I was trying to get with that. So I mean, I could see someone maybe doing that with Hendon Hooker if Will Levis falls. Who knows?
It could be a run on the quarterbacks more than more than the normal, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, last year we only saw one quarterback go in the first round, and we're right here now with the Houston Texans. Are they going to take the second quarterback off the board in Bryce Young, or do they, through all the smoke screen, saying they might wait a year, take Will Anderson?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think they got to go Bryce Young here. I mean, I don't think they can do another year of mediocre QB play as much as I like what they have going on there. I mean, I don't really like it, but it's comparable, but they have to get their franchise guy, new head coach, get your dude and start building around him, which they slowly have this offseason. So I'm guessing we're all in agreement. Bryce Young for the...
Well, I have CJ going because I had...
Well, yeah, but
yeah.
Now with CJ gone, yeah. So, all right then. With the second overall pick in the Audible Sportscast, I'm not going to say this every time, it's Bryce Young. We don't have to go through the whole Goodell spiel that he does. All right, number 3, Arizona Cardinals. I think this is a probably one or the other situation. Do they take Will Anderson, or do you see a team like the Titans, maybe even the Raiders, swooping into trade?
I mean, if I'm Arizona, I'm trading out. They need so many pieces, but I don't know to who yet, obviously. But I'm gonna say, to me, they probably Will Anderson if they do make the pick.
Yeah, I if they don't trade, they're definitely gonna go defense.
I mean, I've seen some saying Gonzalez, but I think it's too early to go defensive back.
I don't know. I've seen a couple mock drafts of different teams trading up to get him.
Yeah, I think if any, for some reason in my mind, I think if any team's going to do it, it's Tennessee. I feel like Tennessee's kind of...
I've seen the Colts do it.
I've seen a couple of the Colts. I mean...
The Colts taking Gonzalez?
Yeah, but they trade back to, like, I think the...
Oh, I thought you meant trading up for number 3.
Oh, no. I was talking about Gonzalez. Just...
Oh, I mean, I've seen a couple of them taking them if they trade back.
Yeah, but if Arizona doesn't trade back, they're going to take the best available. That's not a quarterback.
Yeah, and best available is obviously Will Anderson. I mean, depending on who you ask, he's the number 1 prospect in this whole draft.
Yeah.
So,
and their defense definitely has a lot of holes.
Oh yeah, they lost J.J. Watt. I know he's a corner, but they lost Brian Murphy. They lost a couple other guys. They did bring in some guys, but nothing that could be a potential star that, Will Anderson had. I mean, he's not been super. He's no Myles Garrett, Von Miller, but he could be a pretty good edge rusher in the NFL.
He could be better than him.
He could be, but I mean, he's not like the prospect that they were coming in out of the draft. I think is more what I was trying to get.
I mean, yeah, but a lot of the, I know it's like the early 2000s anymore, but a lot of the greats like Freeney and stuff, they weren't the greatest prospects.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean that's the magic of really any draft is it can all be like, we're talking about C.J. Stroud should be the first guy, quarterback taken, but he could. I mean, in all honesty, he could be bad, and there could be a quarterback taken in like Hendon Hooker. He could go 2nd, 3rd round maybe, and he'd be the better quarterback of the draft. It's all. That's why scouting is so important, and learning how a quarter or any position can, take the mentality and physicality. That's why they do so many interviews and stuff. But so no, we're not going to trade here. We're going to go Will Anderson.
I can't. I don't know who they could trade with or who would trade. So I don't.
Yeah, that's my issue. I don't exactly have a team in mind.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any QB desperate enough to trade. I mean, I could see the Titans, but I don't know how desperate they are in pushing for Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. So I think while Arizona does maybe need a couple more picks, let's get best available and go Will Anderson and make things interesting for the rest of this draft, because now, we're all in agreement with Will Anderson.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. All right, just making sure. But now we're in for an interesting spot. One, because now we're finally getting to a team one of us is a fan of, being Cody, in the Indianapolis Colts. And luckily enough, in our situation for the Colts, no team has traded up to number 3 for a quarterback. And we can more than likely assume if the Colts stay at 4, that they will take a quarterback. And Cody, you being our Colts I'm not going to say insider, but you're the fan of the bunch. Which of the two quarterbacks do you think they should draft, or do you think they should maybe go in a different direction?
They definitely shouldn't trade. I think Levis and Richardson are split. To me, I think you can get more out of Levis, but you got Richardson's athletic capability, like his speed and everything, but his accuracy and his throwing is the big question that everyone has. I know he had a good combine, people like they saw, but I don't take the combine for much at all.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, especially if you want to he's very in some ways comparable to Jalen Hurts, and now with Shane Steichen as the head coach, just calling plays for Jalen Hurts. They might go more towards that direction because he's already integrated more into that kind of style of play as a play caller. So I feel like, I don't know, I've seen a couple things that it seems like the Colts like Richardson more than Levis.
that's what I think. Yeah.
Looking at some quick facts that I found about the Colts with Richardson is so for all the pro days, they sent area scouts to Ohio State, CJ Stroud, and Kentucky, and Alabama's pro days. But for Florida's pro day, they sent chief executive personnel to watch Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
so
as part of that.
Yeah, so it's like it's not like super official stuff, but when you have more higher ups going to watch one over the other, it's like,
well, because that's who they think they can get.
That is true. I mean, we see the Seahawks too. They did personal interviews with their entire front office with all the quarterbacks too. So who knows? I mean, every team does things differently. Every team does their due diligence differently. But
yeah, I think it's gonna be Richardson, and if he can get he can very well develop the throwing capabilities, and he could do a quarterback.
I mean, when you also have that running capability and you have a backfield with Jonathan Taylor, I know the offensive line wasn't that good last year, but if you can also build on top of that, make it what it was a couple years ago, maybe at least a little bit. You have some good receivers there, and a defense that can be good. So it could be a good step, especially in maybe a lower spectrum division like the AFC South, where maybe your only competition is the Jaguars. We don't know where Tennessee's kind of in a limbo where they can be good, but they just released like half their good players and supposedly want to trade Derrick Henry. So who knows?
I mean, from what I've seen, I think it's still going to be Will Levis, but that's just me. But I think Richardson's still in the mix. You know what I mean? Obviously.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Anthony Richardson too, just from what I've seen from different things. I think I'm Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida. Congratulations, Cody. You have yourself your sixth quarterback in 6 years?
Yes.
I mean, unless you'd rather see them trade the 4th overall pick in a situation to get Lamar, which one would you rather see them do?
Definitely Richardson. If I'm potentially getting an even better talent than Lamar, I'll take Richardson.
Oh yeah, I mean,
He's
far
young,
less cost.
Young, has fresh legs, not the quarterback that has mobile legs that's dying.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you don't have to give him the big contract. Trade away more assets. Not only that 4th overall, but it will take
two firsts at least,
Yeah.
and a big contract that no team needs to have.
I mean, everyone always wants a rookie quarterback because of that rookie contract where you can build more of a team around him and then, do whatever you need after that. But I think looking at that thing is that Anthony Richardson seems like a better deal. Obviously, could Lamar make them a contender? Maybe, but how long can you keep that team together is big question mark. But now on to our next team, which is an interesting team.
Are we all in agreement?
Yep.
In agreement?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yes, we are. Well, Brett thinks Will Levis maybe, but we out. I said Anthony Richardson, so we
My bad.
have the majority here. So next, this is where it starts getting interesting, where we can see a couple different, we're not. I mean, we could maybe see a quarterback still taken here, but the Seahawks now with not only going to the playoffs last year, but having now a top 5 pick to add on to the talent they've already went in and gotten in the offseason. Do we see them, maybe take a chance on Will Levis here to be maybe a push with Geno Smith to get better / just to work on, because Geno is maybe still question if Geno is the franchise kind of guy, but at the same time, there's a lot of good prospects out there. I mean, we can talk about Jalen Carter. Do we think he is still eligible really to be drafted this early?
I think if there is a team, I think it's Seattle.
I don't know. I mean, they
like to take risks.
They do. But I don't know. With my trouble with Jalen Carter is just how much I've seen. At least from what we are told. Obviously, we don't get to see inside the war rooms, but supposedly certain teams are taking him off their first round draft board. We're seeing supposedly Dan Campbell talked to someone from Georgia and told him some stuff he seemed to not be happy with. So
well, he doesn't want to meet with any team that's not in the top 10.
I mean, that's a bad look, I know.
Yeah. That's pretty bad. Very deep.
But I think that's his agent talking. I don't know if that's him.
I mean,
we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't, and that's what makes some of the stuff hard is we don't have all the facts. But at the same time, it seems like maybe not all the NFL teams do too. There's still maybe question marks and why we see. I mean, the Bears brought him in for a visit just the other day. Maybe trying to get more information out of the whole situation. I mean, we know it doesn't seem like he's going to have any legal actions. That's already been settled. It seems like just probation and some stuff like that. But it's still a situation that could turn into a downward spiral. I mean, the pro day where he came in overweight was having issues going through stuff. I mean, is he going through some stuff? We don't know. But at the same time, do you want to spend this early of a pick on that big of a risk is the question.
No, but I think
it's happened before. It'll happen again.
Yeah.
It will, and it has, and but I feel like a guy like Tyree Wilson might be a safer pick. But it seems like I might be outvoted here. You both think Jalen Carter is the way to go?
Yeah.
All right. Seahawks take a risk on someone with a high risk but high reward play here. And Jalen Carter going 5th overall to Seattle to go right next to a defense that has already seen a lot of acquisitions. I mean, we're talking Bobby Wagner coming back, which could be pretty big for them. We're talking, just a really good offseason so far for the Falcons. I mean, they went out and got Draymond Jones and Jaron Reed, so adding Jalen Carter into the mix of those guys could be really, really good for them.
Did you just call the Seahawks the Falcons?
He did.
Did I really?
Songbird.
Well, they're all birds, and we're gonna be talking about the Falcons here in a couple picks. So I got the dirty birds on the mind, I guess, instead of the water birds, I guess. But all right, Jalen Carter to the Seattle Seahawks, not the Atlanta Falcons. Which maybe I am mixing because Atlanta's also in Georgia. He went to Georgia. Who knows? I'm making excuses. No excuses necessary. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions with another team, multiple first-round picks where they can easily make some really good picks here and be the top of their division. It already looks like they might be the top of their division. Will Levis is still there. Do they take Will Levis? Do they add more draft capital, let a team maybe like Tennessee, Atlanta jump in front of Las Vegas to take Will Levis, or do they continue to add more pieces on that defense with either Tyree Wilson or one of the great corners in Christian Gonzalez or Witherspoon out of Illinois?
I think they stay where they're at, and they're going to take Miles Murphy.
Ooh, Miles Murphy.
Oh, see, I was thinking they go Robinson, running back.
Well, you think they go Bijan Robinson, even though they went out and signed David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift is still there.
For how long?
You just want them at least a year.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're just trying to get young everywhere.
That is, I mean,
and the Montgomery deal
true.
isn't that expensive, so I mean, it's who knows? They'll probably go defense.
Yeah,
I just think they might go running. I'm just saying that so it's here.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I mean, when looking at Miles Murphy versus Tyree Wilson, I like them both. I think Tyree Wilson might have the better physical set to be a good pass rusher in the end. I mean, I think they'll both be good, but I mean, just the raw physical ability from Tyree Wilson, just I don't know. It's tough. I mean, we that defense pairing either of those guys next to Aiden Hutchinson or continuing to add the secondary that they could easily do here too. But all right, so if I want to go Tyree, Cody wants to do Miles Murphy.
I'm gonna go Miles Murphy then.
You're gonna do Miles Murphy to break the tiebreaker.
Yep.
All right. Okay, that makes it easy on us. We don't have to do any rock paper scissors, and since the fact we can't see each other, definitely would cheat. But all right, so Lions continue to add on to that defense and taking Miles Murphy out of Clemson. And I mean, we saw what Aiden Hutchinson did a really good job last year, and they just continue to add to it. With the 6th overall pick that they got from the Rams, they have another first later in the draft that we will talk about later. So moving on to another team, I almost called them Oakland, the Las Vegas Raiders. Now I'm pretty much gonna ask the exact same question I just asked. Do they take a gamble on Will Levis to be back up to Jimmy G for at least a year, / if he gets hurt, which who knows, or do they add more to that defense that struggled last year and take a corner that they kind of?
I think if Will Levis is there, I think they take him.
I agree.
I can see it.
I agree, but I'm also in a split on they might take Gonzalez here.
I kind of am leaning more towards Christian Gonzalez over Will Levis. I mean, you would assume that Jimmy G during contract negotiations was like, you're not going to take another QB, right? I don't want to be in this position again. Like, is this my team? Like, surely he was asking these kind of questions when he signed.
Do you think he really
maybe
cared?
Maybe he doesn't. I mean, he got a pretty good paycheck for signing the deal, and who knows what else I mean, there's a couple other teams supposedly in the mix for him, but I think with the way they treat it, I mean, they didn't really went and go and get any big name corners. They kind of got some rotational type guys, so I think they really need to go and get a guy like Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon who could be a really good corner in this league.
I mean, they signed their quarterback coach today, so. Hoyer is what I meant. When's the last time he threw an NFL pass? I don't know. Been a while, I think.
Probably, but I mean I see them either going Levis or Gonzalez, and it seems like since we're both leaning towards Gonzalez, Cody, is that where we want to go with this? Gonzalez or Levis? Let's take a vote right here, all three of us.
Levis.
Gonzalez.
But I'm gonna go Gonzalez too. So all right, Raiders add some.
It's tough, but because then I think about Garoppolo and then the Raiders. I'm like, I think they think he's gonna be really durable. Because
it is tough,
that's
and
a Raiders thing to do. So, not saying Gonzalez will be a very good corner. He's a great talent, so it's a good pick for him.
Yeah, I agree. And, I mean, if you want to be in a position where you want to win now, which they seem to be since they added Jimmy G and didn't, kind of go into the younger route and kind of stayed with a lot of their guys other than Darren Waller. It's the only really older guy they went out and got rid of. They're kind of sticking to that. They do have kind of an older roster. I don't know the exact stats, but, adding a guy at a position of need seems to be the better route to go.
Last point on that: if Vegas doesn't take Levis, he's gonna fall pretty far for me.
I mean, we could see a team trade up for him. I'm probably going to continue to ask that question here, but we're going. I think Gonzalez to the Raiders is pretty good for that. So, moving to the Falcons, Atlanta Falcons finally got there. Even though I said several picks ago that they were on the board. Instead of starting, it seems like they are okay with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke as their quarterbacks going into the season, so I don't see Will Levis being a spot here. Whether I think they should or not, it just doesn't seem like that's the route they're wanting to go. So, do they continue to add to the defense here? I think that's kind of the direction they should. Witherspoon is kind of the 1B of the corners out of Illinois. Do they take... Tyree Wilson is still on the board. I completely, do they kind of need an edge rusher too, and I think that's I'm going to go Tyree Wilson as my pick. I just forgot he was still there. Yeah, Tyree Wilson is the guy to go with for my pick at least.
I'd agree. If he's on the board, that's where they go.
Yeah, I'd say they'll go Tyree. If not him, they're gonna go somewhere on the line. I could honestly see them going with that one Iowa edge of
Lucas Van Ness. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
But with how just raw of a prospect Tyree Wilson is, being probably the number one position of need other than another corner to go along with AJ Terrell, depending on how they compare Witherspoon.
But if
with
Richardson's
Gonzalez,
available at quarterback, I think Falcons take.
maybe, but that's asking for a lot of things to happen.
No, I know.
For him to still be available. Yeah, that's true. He could fall. A team could. The Falcons could trade up to get Richardson. That could be something we see happen. Do I actually think it's going to happen? Maybe not.
This is a tank for the dude from USC.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Tank for Caleb Williams. Maybe. Desmond Ridder could turn into something. He showed a little bit of flashes in the 3-4 games he was able to play in. So and they're kind of adding a team around. We get Tyree Wilson here. They added Jesse Bates, a couple other, guys on that defense. So they could be building something. And like we said for the Panthers, they're in probably one of the weaker divisions. So they could have a chance here. They almost went to the playoffs with Marcus Mariota being their starting quarterback.
Very true.
Year. Not that, he had a great year, but it wasn't anything to really write home about.
Nope.
So, Falcons, Tyree Wilson, I think might be one of the better picks of the day so far for us. Moving to something that Brent and I might be debating here for the next, pretty much until the draft happens. Chicago Bears at 9. Do we see a team, I keep saying it, broken record here, do we see a team like the Titans, like Washington, like maybe even Tampa, trade up at number 9 to take Will Levis, who is still there, or do the Bears continue to add around Justin Fields, whether that be a receiver in Jackson Smith-Njigba or an offensive tackle in either Peter Skronsky, which you can make the debate, is he more of a guard, offensive tackle? I think he's just easily one of the better offensive linemen you have to at least look at. Paris Johnson, Darnell Wright.
It doesn't really matter. The tackles in this draft is...
Problem is we don't really need a guard.
That is true.
What I'm saying is the tackles in this draft is so deep. I think you could pick Darnell Wright, the Northwestern tackle,
Peter Skronsky,
and Paris Johnson from Ohio State. I think you can hit it off with either of them.
I kind of like Paris Johnson myself for the Bears, but
yeah, I that Paris Johnson would probably be my pick. if they pick someone, they don't trade back again, which supposedly they are. George McCaskey did come out and say they are chopping it from what it seems. But if they stay, it seems like it's either going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba or Paris Johnson, just from what seems to be going through Bears Twitter. Obviously, what do we know? Are just a bunch of Twitter GMs. So, would I like to see Fields with another weapon in Jackson Smith-Njigba, who could be a really great wide receiver? Yes, but at the same time, I want him to be protected better. He was one of the most, other than Russell Wilson, I think he was the most sacked quarterback. He was sacked 55 times this year. They went out and got Nate Davis. You need to continue to do more. And Paris Johnson, I think, seems to be the most physically gifted lineman in this draft. He can play left or right tackle. So depending on what they want to do with Braxton Jones, they can move either of those guys to left or right tackle. So I think Paris Johnson at least is the guy I would want the Bears to pick.
Yeah.
And then I can make funny Paris memes, because if he gets a pancake, it'll be a crepe. So, I mean, I know you're going to get outvoted here, Cody, but what do you think? I know you just said how great the offensive tackles are.
I see them going for Paris Johnson. Or, if I were the Bears, I would go for Paris Johnson. I don't know who all they visited with. I'm sure they visited with them, all of them.
I know everybody, a lot of mocks have Skoronski because he's the local
seen,
boy. Well, Northwestern boy, you know.
Fun fact, he's actually a Packers fan, so.
I've seen Darnell Wright. I've seen all of them, so I'm going to just take a shot and go with Paris Johnson.
Yeah, and it kind of also depends, do the Raiders, do the Falcons want to, kind of, they could easily take an offensive lineman depending on how they value, like, Skoronski. Like, as a versatile type guy, they can plug and play wherever on their lines, which do need a little bit of work. Not as much maybe as the Bears, but they come before, so they matter a little bit more in this situation. So, it may be of these two guys, who's available, do they take? If they're both available, if no offensive linemen have gone yet, and they have, like you said, it is deep. So if all those guys are still available, maybe that limits them to trade back. Do they trade with the Titans to get a couple extra picks? They take Will Levis if that's a route they want to go, and then you see what the Eagles want to do, because they could be a team we don't really see taking offensive tackle, which now we're going to talk to right now. The Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock.
But they could. The Eagles could take a tackle.
They could. They did lose Andre Dillard, their left tackle. Isaac Seumalo, their guard, went to the Steelers. They did draft a couple guys to kind of replace some of them. So, but at the same time, they're a team that they know they always kind of look into the future. What do they need to do? They're one of the better front offices in the NFL right now. So, and right now, we can even talk, do they take a wide receiver? I don't think they would do that. Do they take a guy like Lucas Van Ness, who's still there? Do they have two corners that are on expiring deals, getting up there in age? Do they go with Witherspoon out of Illinois? I could honestly see them maybe going with Skoronski.
That's who I think it is, yeah. Because of his versatility on where he can play on the line.
Yeah. I know in my original notes I did have Jalen Carter here, but we took him early, just as maybe a mix if he was still available.
So I think they could go for Skoronski. I can't talk here, but what I think they should go for is Van Ness.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too. The Eagles have always been a team that has valued their defensive line, having a good rotation. And when you talk about, they went and traded for Robert Quinn, that didn't maybe work out. They have Josh Sweat. They brought Brandon Graham back. It is kind of getting up there in age. So I could see them take Lucas Van Ness.
But yeah,
I guess it's going to depend on who's available for them.
That's
right.
true. That's true. That is very true.
Which I don't think the Bears. Going back to the Bears, I don't think they should trade out, because there actually is a lot of tackle need or O-line needy teams where they're at right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. If they trade back, don't trade back super far to maybe, Washington or Tampa, who would be, those late teens. But if you could get the Titans, say that there's rumors that the Washington Commanders or the Tampa Bay Bucks are trying to trade. If the Titans are like, oh, we can't let them trade, and they trade up so that they can't trade up, and then then you're just moving back 2 spots. Yeah, you might miss out on one from the Eagles, but if it is such a deep class and you only miss out on one, so then you don't have to pick between Johnson or Skronsky or Darnell, right? You can kind of, I know that's maybe half glass empty type of way to look. Who knows? We don't really.
Yep.
We've only seen one draft and not even a first round pick from from Ryan Poles yet, so we don't know how he looks at things. But I agree. If they do trade, don't trade back super far because I'm not going to say it's top heavy, but I would like for them to get a guy like Skronsky or Paris Johnson for the Bears. I agree with that. Eagles, I'll go with Lucas Van Ness too out of Iowa. He kind of feels like a guy that they would like add into that rotation. A nice, true 4-3 defensive end. That's what they've always kind of liked. Those guys that just fit that physical mold. I feel like so. And with the fact that they lost a lot of pieces on that defense, they need to add a little bit more. I mean,
I'm
any
torn
defense is
because do they want to lose their title as the best offensive line in the NFL for someone like Jalen Hurts, or do you want to fix their defensive rotation? It's kind of a
well, luckily enough for the Eagles too, they have another first round later in the draft that they could potentially take a guy. I mean, they could trade up again like they did last year, or they didn't trade up. They got AJ Brown, and somehow Howie Roseman and the Eagles front office were very busy during the first round last year. They could be busy again. Who knows? They could have some tricks up their sleeves. But that is a tough question. Do they continue to in-house continue to do really great offensive lines, or go Lucas Van Ness? I'm gonna go Lucas.
Well, I think you guys are in agreement then.
Yeah, but who would you take?
Oh, I guess he said Skronsky and then Van Ness, what they should do. I'm gonna stick with Skronsky. Offensive line. Because I think you got Jalen Hurts, you got to protect him.
That is true.
And if you look at the other guys in that offensive line, they're old. The good ones.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Kelsey was,
and Lane Johnson,
potentially retired. Lane Johnson, yeah, that you do make some excellent points.
It is a good pick. Just Eagles are one of those teams, I guess.
They're pretty aged. They're pretty long in the tooth on both lines and secondary. So I think there's a lot of things that could happen. Like here, if Gonzalez were to fall, they got to take him, in my opinion, at 10. If he were to make it that far. But I don't know. I think they're going to pick best available for them, which would be one of those 3 positions.
Easily. What do you think, Cody? Van Ness or Skronsky? All right, then Van Ness it is. Who knows? Maybe Skronsky will still be available when they pick at 30.
That's unlikely, but you never know.
Unlikely, but you never know. But it is kind of getting long in time, so this is going to be part 1 of potentially part 2, part 3, or 3 parts of our mock draft. So tune in next week to see how the rest of the draft shakes up, and to make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Social media is always linked down below. Keep in mind on those once we're done pretty much with this. Doing the mock draft, it will be posted online day of the draft, if not a little bit sooner, so just keep an eye on that, and that'll be forever on the digital world for us to be mocked or praised for how we did it. So keep an eye on that. So just, hey, baseball, hockey, basketball, the last 3 sports really right now, so watch them while you can. 2 of which are about to be in the playoffs, so they'll be gone before you know it. But hey, happy times, and have a good weekend, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Audible Sportscast, your home for all things sports.